Now on CoastTV News.
Helping the homeless in Georgetown. The town's issues with state recommendations. Cruise in Ocean City kicks off.
That's a lot of fun to watch.
The cars that rolled into the inlet today. White House correspondent dinner details.
The suspect shot our officer point-blank range with a shotgun.
What the federal investigation is revealing about the shooter.
We're going to take a look at the latest drought conditions across the Delmarva Peninsula and why we need that rain over the weekend that seems to be fading away.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Community members gathering in Lewes tonight. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Brandon Ferguson. We begin with a forum centered around roadwork and development. A community forum answered questions of those who live nearby major road projects and cleared the air on timeline and safety concerns.
Sussex County representatives, fire, police, and more gathered at Troop 7 in Lewes to discuss the future of the Minus-Conaway development along Route 1. Community members had the opportunity to ask questions about changes near where they live.
We wanted to have this conversation because there's a lot of construction happening in that community, as well as hear any other concerns that they might have.
For members of DelDOT, the panel provided a chance to give updates on road work.
We like to participate in events like this because it gets the word out, the accurate information.
You don't live there.
But as with many discussions about road projects, things became a bit testy over timelines.
We had a robust and lively discussion about traffic and the construction timeline and process. Additionally, we talked a little bit about community safety as well as healthcare and any policies that are impacting that.
Shirley Hickey, who lives right next to construction, says with all this road work, something dangerous could happen.
My safety concern is now that people couldn't, well, they might have been able to, but thicket wouldn't let them walk through that woods to get to us. There's nothing to prevent that now. They go on the trail, they can go right up on our burn and be in our backyard.
For concerns like Hickey's, Barry says events like this make a big difference.
I think transparency is critical to everything. Anyone who's living in a community that has any sort of construction happening on their properties or near their properties should be knowledgeable and aware of what the timeline is.
For now, these orange cones are not going anywhere, and neither are questions from the people living next to them.
The Minus-Conaway Road project is expected to cost $36 million. The project would eliminate 8 Route 1 crossovers and replace them with a new service road system and multiple roundabouts. Construction is expected to continue into late 2028 or early 2029. And we're now going to take a live look outside and bring in First Alert Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams for a look at our weather. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening to you, Brandon. And overall, listen, it's very quiet, but we really could use a storm or two, believe it or not. I know that sounds odd for me to say that. I don't want stormy weather because it could cause a problem, but we need the precipitation in a major way. We're bone dry, but 54 degrees actually in Milford at this present time. And just kind of take a look. We got up to 70 degrees today, and 71 is the norm, so we've gotten the temperatures back to where they're supposed to be for this time of the year. But the precipitation, that's a totally different situation. We're at 57 in Long Neck and in Rehoboth Beach. We're also holding at 57 in Laurel, Seaford, Redden, as well as Milton. Now, taking view in Ocean City, we're at 56 degrees as well. The winds have died down there a bit for us, and we'll have temperatures that will fall to 48 degrees by the 3 o'clock hour. Look at the only amount of rain we received yesterday. After midnight, we only received 2/100th. That's itty bitty, okay? 2/100th of an inch of rain for us in Georgetown officially, as well as Salisbury, and we are desperately in need of more. I'll give you the lowdown on what's happening with our drought situation throughout the Delmarva Peninsula in our next segment. Till then, back to you, Brandon.
Thank you, Paul. Delaware lawmakers are considering a major change to how the state funds public schools. Listen closely to this. Senate Bill 302 would move Delaware toward a hybrid funding formula, combining the current staffing-based model with student-based funding. According to lawmakers, the goal is to better support students from low-income households and multilingual learners. The plan includes base funding, opportunity funding, and operational funding. If approved, the Department of Education would begin implementing the model with full implementation set for the 2027 2028 school year. A related bill would make the Public Education Funding Commission permanent. Last week, Delaware anglers were facing different rules for black sea bass depending on where they were fishing. State rules allowed a May 1st opening, a 12.5-inch minimum size, and 15 fish per day. But federal waters had stricter limits. Right there on your screen, you see those limits. Now NOAA Fisheries has taken action to align federal rules with updated Delaware regulations. That means when the season opens on May 1st, Delaware anglers will follow the same black sea bass rules both in state and federal waters. The Sussex County Land Trust has announced the preservation of Ardnagren, an 88-acre generational farm in Lewes. The land is described as one of the last remaining large open space tracts east of Route 1 in the Lewes area. The goal is to protect the property from future development and preserve open space in a fast-growing part of Sussex County. High-end cars were making the slow roll past the beach this morning as a part of the 36th Cruisin' Ocean City Car Parade. You're now seeing more video from the parade earlier this morning. Hundreds of cars rolled down the boardwalk as people lined up the sides to watch their favorite cars go by. But the fun didn't end with the parade. Some vendors on site were selling car parts, others selling some car-themed home decorations. And for the serious gearheads and even the more casual car fan, the spectacle dropped a lot of jaws.
Somebody will tweak it, change the color, change something in the engine. Yeah, that's a lot of fun to watch. So if you walk through here, you can see the same cars and how it's modified, and it's to that person's own preference.
If you missed today's parade, there will be two more, one tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and another on Saturday at 8 a.m. After weeks of cleanup and preparation, Cape Henlopen State Park says all trails are now clear and ready just in time for the summer season. In a Facebook post, the park says crews work to remove debris and reopen popular paths, including sections of the Junction and Breakwater Trail and Gordon's Pond Trail, while also thanking visitors for their patience. The McBride Bathhouse at the Cape Henlopen State Park, the boardwalk is done. Cape Henlopen State Park says the boardwalk is now open. The bathhouse will be open daily for park visitors starting tomorrow, May 1st. The Delaware Interagency Collaborative to End Homelessness was launched by Governor Matt Meyer last year to review homelessness programs, policies, funding, and services. Today, the Georgetown Supportive Housing Issues Committee reviewed the state's group recommendations, but members said they were not satisfied with most of that report. They said it did not focus enough on alcohol and drug rules for people staying in supportive housing, including places like the Pallet Village and sober living homes. However, the committee supported the state's recommendation for supportive housing programs to better coordinate and share information so people cannot just jump from program to program with accountability.
Maybe approach them, ask them if they need help every day, every hour. Instead of giving them money, is there anything else I could do to help you? Kind of approach them in that way.
Committee members are happy that the state is now getting involved, but recognize that passing something in Georgetown will happen much faster than anything on the state level. So the committee has to take into account what the state is saying, and they said they will present that to the Georgetown Town Council. Back in September, the Supportive Housing Issues Committee was created. The group was tasked with reviewing Georgetown's 42 supportive housing facilities and how they are being used. Town council members said the goal was not to add more supportive housing, but to better understand what already exists and how to better the housing. This brings us to our Coast TV poll. We want to know, what should Georgetown prioritize in addressing homelessness? Let's take a look at the updated results from our 6 p.m. news hour. The majority, barely 42%, saying job programs, 30% saying mental health care. And we do have a comment tonight. Paul says jobs, jobs, jobs. Get more industry into Delaware instead of more developments. If you haven't voted yet, you still can on our CoastTV.com or on our mobile app. Prosecutors say Sussex County man pled guilty to transporting a child across state lines for sex. The details of this case are disturbing. Prosecutors say Miles Clark who at the time was 21, picked up a 12-year-old girl from a church near her Pennsylvania home in September of 2024, brought her to Delaware, and raped her. 1 week before the incident, authorities say Clark was contacting the victim via Snapchat. Those conversations quickly turned sexual, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, even though Clark knew the victim was a minor. A man running for state senate in Oklahoma was found dead today. Barry Christian was reported missing after he failed to show up for a scheduled meeting on Tuesday. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation says they located Christian's truck Thursday after it crashed into a ravine. Authorities say the 54-year-old body was inside, but they have not determined the cause of death. Christian was a Republican candidate for State Senate District 38 in Oklahoma. Chilling images of the moment the suspect in the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting charged through. It comes as the Secret Service director says he wouldn't change anything about the security setup that night. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell shows us the latest.
New details tonight about the suspect and the exchange of gunfire outside the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And just released additional crime scene images. Officials say the suspect had a respirator and ammunition labeled hollow point.
All the evidence that I've seen, the suspect shot our officer point blank range with a shotgun. Our officer heroically returned fire while being shot point blank range in the chest with a shotgun. It was able to get off 5 shots. It's
also new, the director said Allen had been wearing a protective vest.
That there was some type of tactical vest that he was wearing. So those officers again bravely removed that clothing to ensure that he did not have any other devices on him.
The ballroom incident raised alarming questions about safety with so many high-level government officials in the same packed space. But Director Curran says the security plan was, in his judgment, perfect.
The site was set up perfectly. I will tell you, I would not change the site again.
However, President Trump today expressed concern that the would-be attempted assassin had access to the building as a hotel guest.
You know, when you have 1,000 rooms sitting on top of a ballroom and you have the elevators coming down right near the entrance, it's a pretty tough situation. Now,
from a life in bondage on Maryland's Eastern Shore to leading dozens to freedom, Harriet Tubman's story is one of courage and determination. That's coming up. But first, honoring a historic team in this week's Coastal Connections, it is a look back 45 years ago to a team that was recently recognized for their achievements. We'll be back in just 60 seconds.
In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the bond of young athletes from Dagsboro, Frankfort, and other small communities became part of something big, and it unified the people in southern Sussex County. Recently, they were honored for what they did, and in this week's Coastal Connection, we look back to a very special time for Indian River High School.
This is, going to the gym or leaving the gym, but going back to class, back into the high school. So this is called the tunnel. Fun place, fun place.
The place at the time was the Indian River High School. It's now John M. Clayton Elementary School in Frankfort. And this literal walk down memory lane for Matt Spence brings him back to his senior year in 1981.
We did something that most schools would never do. You went back-to-back.
The back-to-back were state basketball championships, 1980 and 1981. Add to that 8 consecutive Henlopen South titles, and there was a dynasty taking place in southeast Delaware. In mid-April of 2026, Spence's teams were inducted into the Delaware Afro-American Sports Hall of Fame.
It's just a huge accomplishment. It's just a good honor. I really appreciate it, and I just, we've earned it.
Spence's contributions earned selection to the Blue Gold All-Star Game, which is quite an accomplishment when you consider his basketball experience covered only a couple of years.
Actually, I never picked up a basketball until I was in the 6th grade. But once I started playing it, I said, you know what, I want to master this game and I want to be real good at it.
If Spence was real good, his teammate Charles Rain was great. The 2-time first-team All-State player averaged over 18 points and 14 rebounds his senior year. This now empty gym is where Spence, Rain, Chris Shelton, Kevin Garrison, Jose Turlington, Donald Sturgis, Rudy Thomas, Nikita Farlow, Darnell Phillips, they all became part of Indian River basketball lore.
That's the 1981 team. It was standing room only. Trust me, it was standing room. The doors was locked. Those were the entrance doors. The doors was probably locked at 7 o'clock. So, I mean, people wanting to get in just to come see us play, man. It was great. It was great.
Greatness that 45 years later is now forever enshrined. For Coast TV, I'm Matt Pensick.
America 250 on Delmarva, brought to you by Pohanka Automotive.
One of history's most famous Underground Railroad conductors was born right here on the Eastern Shore and a native. This week, we're taking a look back at Harriet Tubman's legacy of how she worked to free enslaved people from the South. Harriet Tubman was born Araminta Ross at a plantation in Dorchester County in the early 1820s. In 1849, under the threat of being sold, she made a daring escape and changed her name to honor her mother. She traveled nearly 90 miles, guided only by the North Star, and finally found freedom in Pennsylvania. However, Harriet's mission was far from over. She would return to Dorchester County and other southern regions 19 times over the next decade and helped over 70 enslaved people escape through the Underground Railroad network. In 1857, Harriet led her parents out of Maryland and to New York, where they lived free for the rest of their lives. Today, visitors can explore the Harriet Tubman Museum and Educational Center in Cambridge to learn more about her incredible acts of bravery on the Eastern Shore and beyond.
You don't seriously believe those shady car dealer pricing tricks, do you? I mean, the prices are more controlled than my bedtime. You can see they're all the same online. So the real difference is how they treat you.
Pohanka has the largest brand selection in one place and people who pay it forward. Over $3 million supporting local causes. And for you, the Pohanka Promise. Up to 4 years free maintenance and more. Plus, Pohanka will beat any written offer or give you $250.
That's cash money.
Mike, I don't know, I can't believe I'm about to say this. We need a rain, perhaps even a storm or two. Nothing that's going to damage anything, but something that'll dump a whole lot of water on us because we are desperately dry across all of Delmarva. Ocean City, we're at 57 degrees right now. Of course, we have water here, but I'm talking about falling from the skies to saturate the soil, particularly for the farmers. 48 for tonight, mainly clear. We only had 2/100th of an inch of rain since midnight. Yesterday, we had maybe a 10th. That's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket because here's our drought monitor. We are desperately dry. We're a moderate drought from the majority of the area, and we're looking at abnormally dry conditions behind that. And then, if you take a look, we're actually looking at Chincoteague right now, where it's actually a severe drought there, and we're looking at severity of drought really in a lot of locations because even as you kind of widen the scope of this, you can see that we're in the midst of an extremely dry situation, and we, quite frankly, are in need of precipitation help in a major, major way. In fact, as you take a look at this, and we're going to break this down for you real quick. For example, as far as the amount of rainfall, for example, for the month, we are shy about 1.8 or nearly 2 inches where we should be. And then as far as the year is concerned, we're closing in on 2.5 inches shy. Remember, this is just the end of April, January, February, March, April. That's only 4 months in. We still have, 8 more months to go. And so when you take a look at this drought meter again, that moderate drought at this stage is really desperate and severe, and we have generally severe drought everywhere else around our region. Now, along the coast, tomorrow, we're looking for winds out of the northwest at about 13 miles per hour. That's going to continue to be a problem for us. Temperatures will be in the 40s to start it off. We'll rebound nicely into the 60s by the afternoon. And so we're not seeing much in the way of scattered showers. We'll see a faint passerby as far as the scattered showers are concerned, but not much beyond that. Even as we go into Saturday, going into Sunday, we're going to stay a bit on the cool side. Now, keep in mind that we are looking for a 61% chance of rain to kick off on Saturday, but here's a look at that rain. It's going to begin to push its way through Saturday, 5 o'clock in the morning, but then after that, it's gone. Now, the storm system that's going to be the focal point of steering everything That's actually looking like the majority of that is going to miss us, because here's where we are and here's where the rain is. Looks like it's going to be more of not even a near miss, just a total miss. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. We're looking for it to clear up and get up to the mid-70s by Cinco de Mayo.
Thank you, Paul. This is a planned overpass for Route 113 and Seashore Highway. It's by the Del Tech campus in Georgetown. DelDOT says that intersection is one of the most dangerous in the area. The agency hopes this proposal would help alleviate traffic and keep everyone safer. Drivers are split on it.
I think we're spending a lot of our time and money to satisfy tourists, and we're losing something that can't ever be replaced, and it makes me sad.
DelDOT says utility work for the project is already taking place. The agency hopes to break ground on that overpass sometime this summer. BB Healthcare and Camp Rehoboth are teaming up to expand healthcare access in downtown Rehoboth Beach. The partnership is set to launch in phases this summer at Camp Rehoboth's Health Suite. BB says services will include HIV and STI screenings, prevention support, vaccinations, care navigation, and health education. The Health Suite is expected to operate mostly by appointment with some day availability. Just in time for the summer boom at Delmarva restaurants, there's a new crop of young folks ready to tackle the food industry. Today, it was graduation day at the Food Bank of Delaware. It is for students who have successfully completed its culinary and warehousing logistics training program. That's a 14-week course. Students spend 12 weeks at the school, then 2 weeks getting their feet wet at restaurants.
They learn everything. They learn we call it the basics, but they go through from knife skills, meat fabrications. They learn the 5 mother sauces, soups, stocks, so they learn all the basics here. So when they go out into the field, they have the basics to kind of build on those.
Some of these graduates will go right into jobs as line cooks or prep cooks. Some have even gone on to be chefs and executive chefs. The TSA is offering a discount on new pre-check memberships for those aged 30 and under. The $20 discount will be offered from May 1st to May 31st on 5-year memberships. It applies to new memberships only. Pre-check allows customers to keep electronics and liquids in their bags at security and leave on belts and jackets. Pre-check lines at airports are typically shorter as well. Coming up in sports, NASCAR is about to take over the city of Dover. DSN tells us what to expect when the Capitol hosts the league's annual All-Star race next month.
The Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
In Dover, NASCAR revs up its engines for their annual All-Star race that takes place in the state capitol later this spring. The city is more than capable of putting on a show in Dover's first time ever hosting NASCAR's showcase event. Earlier today, Dover Motor Speedway welcomed 2012 NASCAR Cup Series champ Brad Keselowski to town, who toured the facility and took laps around the track, showcasing the Speedway's high banking and fast lap times. Keselowski also participated in a Q&A with fans alongside the track's president. The visit comes just 2 weeks before NASCAR's return to Dover for All-Star Weekend, which is from Friday, May 15th to Sunday the 17th. Keselowski believes next month's event will attract fans from major cities outside of Delmarva.
A lot of NASCAR fans in this community, and what's great about Dover is it's kind of middle grounds for several different communities, whether it be Philly or Baltimore. I even have friends that come here from DC. So great racetrack to bring in a lot of our Northeastern fans, and hopefully a great event. I think the single biggest unique challenge is just how fast the track is and the big elevation changes. When you land to that banking, you drop so far. The car's got to accept the load, the tires got to accept that load, so the team's got to be well prepared with how they build the car, but then the driver's got to take it too.
Make sure to follow @Delmarva Sports on all of our social media channels for coverage of the All-Star race, which we will have for you live from Dover in mid-May. That'll do it for sports. Have a good one, Delmarva.
Dog parents in Ocean City, listen up. The last day for dogs on the beach and boardwalks, and they will be back allowed. Sorry for that interruption there. They'll be back allowed on October 1st. There is a spot just for them, the Ocean City Dog Playground, located at the 94th Street and Bayside. It offers daily, multi-day, and annual passes, but registration is required. And up the coast in Rehoboth Beach, dogs, they get a little extra time as the summer rules do not kick in until May 14th. This is for the beach and boardwalk. In the past, May 1st was the first day dogs would not be allowed. So this is a new change, and it is important to remember the boardwalk signs are not yet updated.
All right, we take a look at Dover. We're holding at 52 degrees at this time. We're going to drop back to 49 by 2 o'clock, 48 by 3 o'clock in the morning. Keeping that in mind. We're looking relatively clear. Cold fronts pushing through, so we're a bit on the cooler side. And we do have a small craft advisory that's active throughout the Chesapeake Bay area. Other than that, looking for much cooler conditions to our northwest. There are actually frost advisories there. That don't include us. So we've got our fair share of dry conditions anyway. Lawrence Del Rosario of Millsboro, you're our umbrella winner. Keep up with your forecast with our lines, sponsored by Brockstedt, Mendelis, and Federico. And here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for joining us here for Coast TV News at 11. For more news and local weather, you can download our Coast TV News app. The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon, is up next. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Coast TV News at 5 a.m. Have a great night.